Minasan konnichiwa! Hey everyone, it's Aaliyah with Beyond the Frame, YouTube's #1 resource for everything behind the scenes of your favorite films, TV shows, and anime. And today, we're talking about one of my personal favorites, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer, specifically Swordsmith Village. In today's video, we're diving headfirst into the season that some fans enjoyed, some fans thought was a letdown, Nezuko's shocking transformation, Muzan's twisted origin story, the meaning behind the hyottoko mask, and why some fans think the studio's money scandal might be the real reason this season felt low budget. So let's get into it. When I first started working on this video, there were so many things I wanted to talk about, but honestly, we gotta start with Nezuko's Ohio. Like seriously, my face was caked in tears because in the back of my mind, I kind of figured she'd survive the sun, but I was not prepared for her to start talking. That scene was so beautifully written that I knew shit was about to hit the fan because whenever something really good happens in Demon Slayer, you can expect something tragic to be waiting around the corner. And this wasn't just a big moment for Nezuko. It's the moment Muzan has been waiting for. I mean, after all these centuries of obsessing over walking in the sun, he finally discovers the one demon who can make his dream a reality. But here's where things get a little messy. Some fans were all in. They loved the shock, the surprise, and the emotional payoff. Whereas others, not so much. They felt like the moment was rushed, that the buildup wasn't strong enough to earn a twist this big. Even if it was bold, it didn't land the way it could have. And that feeling wasn't just about Nezuko, because for all the work that went into this season, 2 upper-ranked demons, a hidden Swordsmith Village, and multiple Hashira, you'd think this would be one of the most intense seasons yet, but instead, it kind of felt like they played it safe. The villains, Gyoko and Hantengu, looked really good, but there were so many times I felt like they lacked the depth to be true threats. There was no major deaths, no devastating losses, and by the end of it all, most of our main characters survived relatively intact, which obviously I'm happy about, but for the story and what we come to expect from Demon Slayer, it did spark the question, what were the stakes? But what did you think when you watched this season? I mean, did they play it safe or are people being too harsh and critical about this arc? Let me know in the comments. Now, for those of you who've been following me for a minute, you know I'm a sucker for villains with a good backstory. So with Nezuko now able to walk in the sun, we have to look at Muzan, and I think the best way to do that is to go back to the beginning. Muzan grew up during the Heian period as a sick young noble on the brink of death. Desperate for a cure, he finally found a doctor with a treatment that could save him. However, unable to handle the slow recovery, Muzan eventually snapped, killing the doctor in a fit of rage, only to realize the treatment had actually worked. But with the doctor gone, he lost the final ingredient needed to conquer the sun. Centuries passed, and Muzan became stuck in limbo, able to become the most powerful demon alive, yet unable to transcend the power of the sun. This total obsession is what pushed him on the path of creating demons, hoping one would eventually evolve, but nothing worked. Until Nezuko. And if history has taught us anything, it's that narcissists with godlike complexes are fanatics when it comes to getting what they want, even if it means destroying humanity to get it. And speaking of backstories, it felt like this season was handing them out like free candy. But I do appreciate that, especially when they're done right. Take Muichiro, for example. His backstory was probably the most detailed, with a twin brother, a forgotten past, and a horrifyingly tragic explanation for how he became a Hashira. But this season didn't stop there, because we also got the love Hashira Mitsuri's backstory. Her journey may come off as soft and not as terrifying, but it's still very powerful. Born with superhuman strength, she was constantly told she was too much, too strong, too different, too weird. So she began hiding her real self in order to be accepted, which is something I can definitely understand. And thankfully, by the end of her arc, she finally chooses to embrace her differences, which is really beautiful to see. Then on the flip side, we have Genya, who had a rough upbringing to say the least. Even the 2 upper-ranked demons get a mini backstory, which all sounds great on paper because from the creator's perspective, it gives the viewers a chance to see a different side of the characters and feel an emotional attachment towards them. But in terms of execution, it's a little overwhelming because the placement of these backstories wasn't always ideal. Almost all of them were dropped right in the middle of battle, and sure, that's a classic anime move, but by the 3rd or 4th time, it started to feel less like peak storytelling and more like a basic math equation. And one of the most common comments I saw on Reddit, why do they always die right after the flashback? It's become a meme at this point. But I am interested to hear what you think about this. I mean, were the backstories essential to the plot, or did they feel forced and overcrowded? Let me know in the comments. So while the battles were raging across the village, something incredible was quietly growing on Tanjiro's forehead, the Demon Slayer mark. At first, it looked just like another anime power-up. Tanjiro gets harder, better, faster, stronger. Classic shonen stuff. But this mark comes with a twist, because in the manga, the truth behind it is way darker. It's no longer just about strength, it's a ticking clock. And what makes this more intense is that Tanjiro's not alone. We start seeing the mark appear on other Hashira too, which means this isn't a fluke, it's a very crucial shift. A callback to the first generation of Demon Slayers, because up until now, humans have always felt like they were one step behind. But with the Demon Slayer mark, they're finally catching up. And if the Swordsmith Village gave us a taste, you know Infinity Castle is going to be absolutely insane. But while all that was happening on screen, there was definitely some drama happening behind the scenes. I'm gonna start with one of the more surprising things about this season, the pacing. There were quite a few complaints online about how the studio kept shifting back and forth between Tanjiro and Muichiro with drawn-out fight scenes and repeated dialogue, which I do have to agree on because this show's timing was kind of off-putting, especially when I think about the previous arcs. But the Swordsmith Village arc could have been suffering from some budget issues as well. I don't know if you remember this, but in 2021, the studio's president was indicted for tax evasion. According to court records, he hid about $1.2 million in revenue, claiming it was to protect the studio from financial losses. But reports later said he used some of the money to buy real estate under his name rather than putting the money towards future projects for the studio. And then there's the CGI. This season leaned much heavier into 3D. Now, some fans didn't mind it and genuinely seemed to enjoy the style, but others said it was worse than they had imagined. Even the director, who's known for delivering incredible work under tight deadlines, got pulled into the conversation, with some fans praising his work, but also worrying about whether this pace is sustainable. So while Swordsmith Village still had some really great moments, a lot of fans were left wondering if the quality is slipping or if it's just the growing pains of a studio under pressure. Definitely something to think about, but before you do, I have a few hidden gems that I want to share with you about this arc. In Japanese culture, silence and the hyottoko mask represent humility and devotion to craft. These are artisans who dedicate their entire lives to creating the perfect blade. In fact, it's been said that if Swordsmith removes their mask without permission, they can be exiled from the village. After 2 whole seasons of mystery, we finally saw the man behind the mask, Hotaru Haganezuka, and fans lost it. Manga readers already knew he was surprisingly good looking, but the anime went all in. And even as he was getting sliced up mid-battle, the dude did not let go of that sword. This is Aaliyah with Beyond the Frame, Swordsmith Village. Are we in? Are we out? What do we think? Let me know. I cannot wait for Infinity Castle to drop. I'll definitely be making a video about this arc once it releases, so make sure to subscribe if you want to follow along. Also, this video is part of my Demon Slayer series where I go behind the scenes of each season, so be sure to check out the video I made for the Entertainment District because I did not realize how crazy the controversy was surrounding Daki in the Red Light District, especially when you realize that the location was based on a real place in Japan. And as many of you already know, I'm an anime nerd with a fascination for trivia. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ja, mata ne!